Okay, good, thank you.
I think everyone basically from the other game, for the most part, is in the other two channels. So
Okay, I just had a weird commercial where the
nice.
guy's head was in shape of a cowboy hat.
Oh, I saw that at the Super Bowl. Yeah.
Yeah. What the
Apparently,
hell is that?
It it was some big ad about, that, because the guy, it was a kid that grew up with that, and like fantasy was in, and like it basically it's like, hey, always be yourself sort of thing, even if it's not what's in, because it was it was an ad with a story, and it just would take too long to try and or I just don't
I'll
feel
have to
like
look it up.
explaining it, but it was just weird.
Yeah, I get it. I'll look it up later if I remember.
you probably won't.
Probably not.
Wait, what are you supposed to be looking up?
Anima just got the same ad apparently about the horrifying ad about a
Oh,
kid with a cowboy hat head.
oh God.
So that's a thing. All right. I didn't pay that much attention to the Super Bowl, so I guess
Oh,
that's why. Guess that's why I didn't notice.
yeah, it was earlier on, if I recall, but yeah, it was definitely weird.
Indeed. Yeah, we'll wait a sec though to make sure that the pre-roll ad rolls for everyone, because it's still gonna run the default ad in like 28 minutes, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
Actually, it does say running a 3-minute ad manually right now will remove that, but I don't know if I trust it.
No, it's fine. It's up now.
Oh, I know, but anyone coming in
There's
is
no
gonna get
ad.
the will get the pre-roll.
Oh, that's silly.
Yeah, we're just because I actually was saying we were gonna start at 6:15. We're gonna run the pre-roll. Um,
Okay.
I'm gonna run a quick ads no pre-roll. If this works, I hope it does. It's worked before when this cooperated. Yeah, no, that pushed it back
Yeah,
the
good
hour
luck with
now.
that.
So no, it looks like it worked. It's not gonna run another
Mm.
ad now for an hour after the ad ends, and we have no pre-roll ads for an hour. So
Out. There's an ad.
yeah, I just ran one manually to force it so that we can get the hour in with no ad. So
Okay.
Ooh, Butterfinger.
and then that does sound pretty good.
Anyone been playing any fun games lately?
She tried Conan Exiles today.
Did you really?
Yes.
How did that? Did you just play in a public server or what? Or just single player?
No. No, private server.
All right.
It's very, uh yeah,
Well, yeah, that's that game.
that is.
Still, it's a pretty fun game. I don't know. I was stabbing people in Elder Scrolls Online in Cyrodiil.
Ah, nice.
A man's got to assassinate people. I mean, you don't have to, but you know.
I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure you can guess what game I was on.
Final Fantasy 14.
Oh my gosh, how'd you know?
Did you make your fourth alt now?
Maybe?
That
How many
sounds
alts
like
do you
an
have?
sounds like an admission of
4.
guilt.
I
Gen-
have 4 alts.
yeah,
I have
generally
my main
speaking,
and 3 alts.
yeah, generally you don't need to make ults in that game because one character can have every job. But
Yeah,
some of
each
us are
them.
insane and make ults anyway, but not 4 ults.
Exactly.
Right. I couldn't
Don't
do
you
it.
have 3?
Yeah, but that's different. 3 and 4 that's a big increase. It's a 33% increase from 3 to 4. Also, to be fair, some of mine
well,
are
to be
from
fair, Balmung is
1.0.
actually open
Yeah. Well, some
right
of my
now, so
alts were from before the revamp, so
That's true.
like
Ooh,
two
Well,
of
Captain
Balmung
America.
was finally open, so I made it all on Balmung.
mistakes were made.
Nope.
Trust me, they were. Balmung is good until you go to any other server and realize, damn. Unless you're
Damn
looking
good
for
or damn bad?
unless you're looking for Conan Exiles RP, then Balmung's there. Balmung's here for it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're
I-
back from commercial, so
Okay.
we're gonna.
No, we're not.
Oh, we're not. It says we're back.
Nope.
All right. Let me know when we're
Wait,
back.
now it is.
Now it is.
Now
All
it is.
right. So we're back. All right. So who wants to give the recap and why is her name Dakota?
Ah, man.
Just a quick
I
recap.
don't remember what I had for lunch today.
You don't need to hit every single point. You guys woke up
Let's see.
in different parts of the house. Go from there.
Yeah, right. We all woke up in different parts of the house. Someone was in the basement. I was in a bathroom with bugs. Who was in the basement?
Luthius.
Yeah.
He's inside
He
one of
had
the casks.
weird-looking cat creatures. He woke up in a cast, yes. Let's see. Somebody woke up in a bedroom.
That would,
And
yeah, it would be me.
Yep. Donovan
Yeah.
woke up upstairs in a servant's bedroom.
right. And
Cardama
Cardama
was
woke up
in,
on a table,
On the
getting
dining room
ready to be served as lunch,
for the werewolves.
breakfast,
yeah.
dinner, whatever.
Breakfast.
Yes. And we were able to find each other and get back to our starting place where we went to sleep. Was it one of the visiting rooms
The parlor.
or whatever? Parlor, yeah. We met up and then we went up to get the sitting stone from the witch, right?
The witch stone. Yeah.
Yes, and then somebody fell off the roof. I did not venture out there. Got the stone, got back inside, and then we went into that other room with the children.
Yep.
No, there was a painting.
There
A
was
shield.
a shield. Yeah.
Yes, that had a. Oh, we needed to get the nightingale, right?
Belladonna. Yep.
Belladonna, houseless.
Close enough.
To activate it, so we had to go back down into the garden area, greenhouse, and we got attacked by some vine creatures with tentacles, of course. We defeated them, got the belladonna, went back upstairs. She had to put the belladonna. She had to rub it on the shield. and it activated a door that unlocked it, which we got inside. There were 2 children that were haunting some toys. We gathered the toys, went back down, where we were told to buy their mother, I think, to get them safe.
Yep.
And that caused the house to start to self-destruct, and we had the room out of the house.
Indeed.
Then we're on our way to I forget.
So basically, after you guys left the house, the mist kind of herded you guys down the road. Slowly at first, but eventually picking up speed, which caused most of you to kind of run off. I think Uni lagged behind briefly and got swallowed first. The rest of you tried to stay ahead of the mist, but eventually, darkness, cold, and this kind of unsettling feeling of something watching you. And your last memories are essentially of this running, the pounding of you and your group mates' feet against the dirt road, which gradually get drowned out just by this encroaching silence caused by the mists as they slowly overtake the rest of you. It doesn't really seem to matter how fast you ran. Eventually, they were just, a little bit faster. And then it's kind of just a quick chill, deeper than any other chill you've ever felt, that you swear you can feel in your soul. Your breath catches, your limbs grow heavy, and then nothing. Just darkness. You recall falling forward on the road as your consciousness slips away. But you feel like you're falling for too long. You should have hit the ground. And then slowly, you catch the scent of damp earth, a little bit of decay, kind of filtering up through your nostrils as your consciousness slowly returns. The distant sounds of rustling leaves and the soft whisper of the wind in the trees greet you. The road you ran upon is gone. Instead, you find yourselves in a forest clearing. Slightly damp grass beneath you, the heavy boughs of twisted trees arcing overhead. A new road sits nearby. You can see it from where you woke up. Ancient and well-trodden. It cuts through the landscape nearby, though its final destination is unknown. The mists are still here, clinging to the tree trunks and shifting lazily as if watching, waiting. The air is thick, oppressive, carrying a weight of sorrow and something else. Something hungry. In the distance, the lonely caw of a raven echoes through the stillness.
Donovan kind of looks around, try to see what they can see.
Yeah, so does Dakota.
Yep,
Is
so-
everybody here?
No, actually. It's just currently Dakota, Donovan, Kardama in this little clearing. For the most parts, like I said, it's the trees all have this kind of mist around them, much like I described, that's just kind of floating around. But even further out, in all directions but the maybe 20 feet to this road that you can see in the distance, just has this thick fog that's just kind of blanketing everything. You can see maybe the first tree or two in the forest that you're obviously in, but past that, just more fog.
What about our escorts?
There is no sign of Tristan or Esmeralda. Uni and Luthias are also missing at the moment.
Is it so thick we can't see each other?
No, you can see each other. For the most
Okay.
part, it's clinging to the trees and further out, but it's
Okay.
left most of the clearing relatively free from fog.
Definitely move closer to the others.
Yeah.
Away
Cardano
from the fog.
immediately moves
Yeah.
in and away from the tree line.
So where do we go from here?
Good question. I can't see anything beyond the trees.
Yeah.
There was a road, wasn't there?
Yep.
There was.
The only passage through the mist that kind of goes through some of these trees. And even then, on either side of this small, maybe 10-foot wide corridor through the mist, is still just like a heavy fog. The road itself, though, seems to be a bit clearer as far as you can tell. Though without moving out onto the road itself, it would be hard to say for certain.
Shall we try the road?
Yes. We probably should see if maybe we can find the others along it.
Alright, to the road?
Yeah,
Mhm.
agreed. Yeah.
Alright, so yeah, you guys make your way out of this small clearing towards the road. Every step you take, you find that the mist that had been clinging to the trees previously is kind of moving in to fill up the space of this clearing as you leave. And even out into the small corridor until you find yourself on the road, in which case the mist had basically moved in to seal off the corridor entirely. You can no longer even see the clearing. In fact, if you were to look away from the corridor long enough, when you look back, even the trees that you swore you walked between might be different.
Things seem to be changing around us.
Yeah.
It's
Donovan
not
kind
like
of frowns.
it was before.
Yeah. Like, I don't much like this place.
Might want to get out of here.
Quickly at that.
Agreed.
Indeed.
Yep. So give me some perception checks.
Okay.
Yep.
You rolled right over my sheet.
Big money, Dakota. Or not.
No, it wasn't.
So yeah, Donovan and Dakota, both of you are kind of looking around, trying to get your bearings. Right now, you guys are currently up on what appears to be like a small hill. You aren't sure what direction's what, but if you were to follow the road down the backside, or at least what looks more like the backside of this hill, Kardama, you notice that the road seems to go right into that heavy fog. And you have a pretty good view from up here, but it's probably a couple 100 feet where it disappears into the fog. The other direction, though, seems clear and open, at least as far as you can see before the road kind of turns and tilts between what you assume is some more trees in the distance, but it seems to be clear from what you can see from where you are right now in that direction.
Kardama points to where it's clear and says we should probably head this way. The way looks clear. The
I'm
other
with
way
you.
it's too clouded. Yeah.
Yeah, Donovan nods. Was like, I have no objections to this.
Alright, so yeah, you guys will head down the road. Aside from the occasional low rumbling of some thunder in the distance, nothing terribly eventful happens for this part of the trek. You guys, you bob and weave through some trees, kind of following this forested road further into somewhere. Eventually, though, you come to a large set of basically neglected gates. Only not just, like a gate you would walk into a house, but like the gate that you might expect to find, at the front of the castle or something else. And there's even bits of wall that are still attached, that are also equally kind of decayed, broken. And you could technically walk around the gate really easy, especially since the oh gosh, what's the word I'm looking for here? The portcullis is down on the gate itself. And as you guys move closer, and particularly think, as I said, because the wall itself, the gate is probably about 35 feet tall. The wall is a little shorter, maybe 25 feet. And as you guys are getting ready to potentially go around this wall, you hear a kind of grinding of metal. And slowly you watch as the portcullis on the gate begins to lift up and open.
Think we're being invited in.
Here so. So I've not spotted anyone that, that is raising the gate. So
I assume we can't see above.
No, you can see on top of the gate. The gate itself, there's no gatehouse or anything on top of it, and even as the the gate is being lifted to allow your passage, there's nothing attached to it as far as you can tell that should cause it to lift. No chain. It just seems to be, going up on its own.
Haunted. Everything's haunted here.
Definitely.
Donovan kind of looks to the others, but is like, well, yeah, as you said, it seems we're invited, so best not to keep them waiting.
Yeah, and then at least we'll have a place to be in one set location. Maybe the others can find us.
True. Very true.
Or they might already be here.
Or they could, they could already be here. So we might as well go look.
Indeed.
Alright, so yeah, you guys will head through the gate. Within, maybe 30 seconds of passing through the gate, slowly you hear the portcullis being lowered back down. Upon looking back, you realize that the fog has kind of filled in right up to the gate itself, where it seems to have stopped for now.
Or we could have been herded into here. I guess.
It's always entirely possible.
Can we see anything else ahead of us?
Basically on either side of the road, it kind of opens up from how it has been. There's still fog, but it's not quite so thick that you can no longer see through it. You can actually see, the next row of trees beyond that in the distance in all directions, though it is still relatively foggy out. But yeah, basically once you kind of pass through this gate, it's like there's a large wall of mist fog that has essentially stopped there. And it doesn't, you can see it through the bars of the gate itself, but also, as I said, half of the wall on either side is also destroyed. So even looking through there, you can see that it's not just a bit of mist that moved to block the road. It's basically a little too perfect and a little too straight of a line that basically follows exactly along the path the wall would have taken.
I guess we continue on.
Yeah.
Might as well keep moving forward.
Yep.
Indeed, indeed.
Can't move back.
Alright, so yeah, you guys will continue. through well, not even through the mist, just through the well, there's a little bit of mist on the ground, kind of through the fog mist down the road. Eventually, the road kind of pulls slightly to to your right, before eventually curling its way back down to the left. And if you give me 1 sec, I'm actually going to put you guys on the map here.
Okay, good. Good.
And 1 sec, I need to fix this.
Oh,
Alright, we throw just the three of you guys down here. Dakota, Donovan, and Kardama. Alright, so you guys are currently up here. As you guys head down the road, a bit of rain does begin to come down. It's not pouring, but it is, making the already miserable experience just a little bit more miserable. And we'll go ahead and unpause right here if you guys want to slowly trek your way down.
Definitely stay in the middle.
Yeah.
You do have armor, right?
Yeah, I'm assuming we still have our equipment.
Yep.
Yeah. And Donovan will kind of keep up front.
I was gonna say I'm sticking behind Donovan.
As you guys are making your way down, I assume everyone's kind of looking out. No real perception check needed, but you see a man laying face down in the mud off to the side of the road.
Check that out.
Yeah. Donovan will kind of go first to look at the body.
Yeah, let the guy with the armor go first.
So yeah, the man itself, dressed fairly casually, much like you would expect, like a commoner in any, village to be dressed: tunic, shirt, boots. Um, the only thing that's kind of strange about this, and he's not moving at all, is that his hand is kind of reached out in front of him in the ground, and he is clutching what looks to be an old compass, heavily tarnished.
He will
Mm.
kind of slowly, kind of warily pick it up.
Yeah, it slips out of his hand without any real fight. Gentleman definitely seems to be dead, or is doing a really good impression. Um, Kardama, as you were walking by and kind of watching, you notice though that this tree here has some scratches in it.
Oh, great.
13 scratches, in fact. Two groups of 5 tallies, and then a further group of 3.
Mm.
And an arrow that points in this direction.
Cardamon takes note of that and goes, does the body have any weapons near it?
It does not.
Okay. Um, looks like there may have been a creature that attacked this man. He
Donovan,
What do
noticed
the
the
wounds
scratch
look like?
mark.
next to
Yeah,
the
Donovan will
body,
kind of look over. Yeah.
he has a couple of like light scrapes. None of them are even bleeding. It kind of looks like maybe he just scraped up against, a tree or some vegetation
Oh,
and got some scratches, but he is not bleeding anywhere as
oh,
far
okay.
as you can see.
Yeah. Donovan kind of looks over and looks back at the body, and it's like, well, I don't know that he died from any sort of creature. He does not bear any wounds other than those generally acquired when running.
Hmm.
He kind of looks over. It's like, why do you think
Is
so?
there are scratch marks on this tree over here? Thought maybe
Donovan
an
will.
I do
animal
have
attacked him.
I do have tracking, right? Would I be able to tell what they?
Yeah, roll me a blind survival. Oh yeah, Cardama, I should probably say too, these don't look like animal scratches.
Oh,
They look like someone carved into the tree with a dagger or
okay.
something else. Because they're basically tally marks, as you would know them. 1, 2, 3,
Oh, tally.
4, and then
Okay.
cross. 1, 2, 3, 4, cross. 1, 2, 3, and that's where they end.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So
That's the
blind
point.
GM roll.
Yep.
Although my survival is untrained.
Yeah, you don't really see any tracks, especially because you guys have been walking around. There could be tracks here, but you would have a hard time distinguishing between this guy's tracks and your friends that have been kind of moving around the area a little bit as well.
Donovan kind of goes over and looks at the tallies mark. And you said that there was an arrow.
There is an
Yeah.
arrow on the we'll just say the south
Okay.
side of the tree that points down towards the southeast.
He kind of looks at that, kind of notices that's not able to find any tracks, and oh, let's see where this arrow goes, and kind of will start to move to follow it.
Yep. Yeah, you guys can move in that direction if you like.
Is it southeast?
Yep. Seems to point right to this other tree here, in fact.
Yeah, I'll start moving over there. Kind of looks around.
And yeah, sure enough, on this tree, there are more of these scratches into the tree. Though this time there are 12 scratches.
Are they scratches or are they tallies?
Tally scratches. Like I said, someone
Okay.
scratched him with a dagger. That also points in this direction. Which, even just looking that way without any real roll needed, there is a dead horse laying right in the middle of this kind of clearing between trees. In the same direction that these tally marks basically um, are pointing in.
Yeah, I'll go look at the dead horse to see if he can spot any signs of wounds, attacks, anything like that.
Yeah, even without medicine, much like the gentleman's body you found, um, no real wounds, no blood that you can see.
Donovan kind of frowns. I was like, he kind of looks around. And was like, if I didn't know better, I'd say that they either died from exhaustion or fright, though I couldn't tell you which one it is at this point. But he just starts looking for more tally marks in the area.
So on this tree here, there are 11 tally marks and an arrow that will basically point off the map through here.
He kind of looks over, um, and will kind of look off in that direction to see like how thick the fog looks.
Um, it doesn't start off too terribly thick in that direction, but maybe another 10 or so feet, you kind of hit more of this wall of fog that you saw previously.
Kind of Yeah, I mean he'll kind of follow it out a little bit, and then as he comes up to the wall of fog, he kind of stops and kind of looks around the area for any other trees.
No other trees as far as you can tell. The arrow just seems to point right into the fog wall.
Mm.
He he kind of frowns and then he'll kind of uh, stomp his way back. It's like, well, it seems like wherever these things go, the fog isn't going to impede our ability to follow them unless someone wishes to brave the fog.
Maybe they were shepherded here like we were by the fog.
Potentially, but why tally down? He kind of,
Hmm.
yeah, he'll move back over to the first body, um, and see if like there's the numbers right there. So he'll kind of head this way to see if there's any like 14 or anything like in this direction.
There is on this tree here that then points into a wall of fog on the opposite side of the street.
Oh wait, it doesn't point at the 13.
It does not.
He'll kind of call out. It's like, well, actually, he won't call out. He'll just kind of come back once he hits the wall of fog again. And I was like, well, there's a 14 over here, but it does not point to the 13. Uh, it points out into the fog just as the other one does. So he
So
kind of
as you guys go back there too, you might not initially notice, especially because the map is still showing it as there, but the body is gone.
Ooh,
both of them.
No, just the gentleman's body is gone.
can I tell if it was dragged away or walked away?
It would be easy to tell if it were dragged, given that it was laying face down in this mud. It's if the body just vanished. You can still see
Hmm.
the bit of indentation into the ground where the body was laying.
Hmm.
So no footprints or
Only your own, yes.
drape marks. Okay. So something could have grabbed it from the air.
That or it teleported.
Yeah, let's not let the imagination go too far.
Yeah. Donovan, once it's pointed out, he'll kind of look back and curse a little bit. 'Cause he had just walked by it, and he's not sure when it would have disappeared, but kind of looks towards the area with the horse to see if it's still there.
The horse is gone as well.
Hmm.
And Kardama, you look back at the tree you had looked at previously. Um, and instead of having the message you expect to find, or not even the message, but just the 13 tally marks on it, someone has kind of carved out this rough looking figure of basically some sort of humanoid atop a horse. Um, and just below it, in the same, like, someone, it looks like someone kind of took a dagger and kind of really dug into this tree. And it's a bit hard to read, but you do make it out. And it says in two different lines, one on top of the other. The top one's saying, "The horseman rides." And the bottom line says, "The seer spoke true."
Yeah, Kardama immediately calls them over to take a look at this. Um, does anyone know what this means, or has anyone heard this saying before?
Donovan kind of goes over and looks. It's like, and shakes his head. I was like, I mean, we found a horse and a man,
Exactly.
so So likely it's in reference to them, but as for the seer, kind of frowns like, wherever we are, I assume it's more relevant to where we are than where we are from.
Yeah. That is curious that the bodies are now gone and it says they ride again.
Does it say they ride again or just rides?
The horseman rides.
Okay. So you kind of you kind of move out into the main thing, kind of looks up and down the road to see if he spots like anyone on a horse or any tracks.
No tracks. Well, no human tracks. There are horse tracks, um, but they kind of follow the path.
Just one horse, or
Looks to be one horse, and it looks like it goes into the fog walk. In fact, looking closely, you can see. Actually, I guess it would look like multiple horses, or maybe another horse that rode through the exact same path. So yeah, either a
Mm-hmm.
couple horses or one riding the same line multiple times.
like sand people.
Yep. If you do
Sorry,
choose to go look
that
at
was
the other
reference.
trees, there are no tally marks on any trees anymore. Only the
Even the ones
words.
that did have tally marks?
Yep. Only the words left on that tree.
Think something's messing with us.
Something is
Yeah,
definitely messing with us.
indeed. I would say an interesting mystery. And he kind of, actually, Donovan kind of pauses and checks to see if he still has the compass.
You do.
He kind of pauses. I was like, something is definitely messing with us, but kind of holds up the compass. There was something here. It's like kind of now that like the bodies are gone, he kind of opens up the compass to see if it like just points north or like what if anything it does.
So yeah, the compass seems to be behaving, and much like the orientation of the map, north would be back the way you came, and south would be the way you're going.
I don't know. It's just like yeah, but it kind of shuts the compass. It's like, well, it seems to be an otherwise ordinary compass, so kind of sighs. I was like, I we should probably shouldn't stick around too much longer unless we invite some trouble.
Continue on the way.
Indeed.
Ah,
As several more wolves howl out in
yeah, let's get
response.
the heck
Yeah,
out
I'd
of here.
say we go quickly because I do not want to be here when those wolves arrive.
Indeed.
So yeah, you guys will make your
You
way
probably smell the blood.
down the road to the south. Eventually, it kind of curves back around again to your right, which would be heading to the west. Um, and you walk for maybe
One.
another half an hour or so um, to the west, and eventually the dark woods that you were in begin to fall away, revealing a misted, gloomy valley that's dotted with thick clouds of fog. There's a number of kind of rolling thunder clouds that are casting a gray pall over the land below. No visible sun at all. The entire sky is kind of this cold gray color, though there is still a bit of light kind of coming through the clouds, but it doesn't look like sunlight to you, just kind of based on coloration. These tall evergreen trees that are kind of climbing up the side of the mountains that are on either side of this valley that you find yourself looking out into. To the north, there is a stony mountain with kind of tufts of trees sticking up every so often. And to the south, a snow capped peak with rugged slopes that towers imperiously above the land below. Imperiously. Blah. I can't talk right now. The muddy road will continue on ahead, though, passing through kind of this yellowed grasses, and you can kind of make out what look to be several farmsteads and farmland out in the distance. Um, and even further still along this road, because you can see pretty far from where you've kind of come out at the head of this valley at an elevated place. You can see some sort of settlement. Um, Still a ways off, but it is there. Also, alongside the road, a bit further down, you can see a river, um, kind of a clear blue color that seems to be kind of following along the road's path towards the village. And then far above that village, on the mountain range to the north that I previously described, there is a large, dark, twisted castle that's kind of standing alone atop this sheer, basically pillar of stone is kind of what the impression you get from the mountain it's sitting on. Um, and I actually have, let me show you guys what we got here. Is this the right one? Let's double check. I think it is. If you need some visuals.
Nice.
So here's what you assume is to be the settlement down here. It's your river, your road, kind of farmland dotting the sides. And then, like I said, there's the mountain to the north, but then this thing's kind of off on its own, like, pillar, with what you assume is some sort
Where
of
there's a bridge.
bridge that leads to it, and then the castle atop that. What do you guys want to do?
Donovan will kind of look over the land. It's like, oh, this is certainly drearier than most places I've been to. And that's definitely saying something, but he kind of looks towards the village. It's like, I'd imagine that will be our destination, unless we want to uh, make our way to the castle first.
I think the stop at the town would be a good idea first. To find out what the castle's about.
Alright, so yeah, you guys will head towards the town. And you kind of get a bit of a stroll through the countryside. And it's kind of much what you saw from where you were at the top of this hill that went down into the valley. But after maybe another half an hour... Oh, were you saying something, Cardama?
It's still loading on my side.
Try to refresh.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes it'll catch.
Okay, it's going. There it goes. Yep, I have it now.
So yeah, as you make your way down the road, eventually you come upon some of the farmland that you had seen from the kind of top of this hill overlooking the valley. Basically on either side of the road, it looks kind of just like, overgrown, where kind of nature's starting to take back a lot of these farms. Houses all look abandoned. Some are still standing, some look like, a strong breeze might topple them over. But you don't hear or see anything particularly interesting coming from these fields. The only exception being is you do pass a farm a little further down the road that still has this scarecrow hanging up in the field that still seems to be holding on. It's in slightly better shape than a lot of the surrounding structures you've seen, but still overall isn't, pristine or anything close to.
Donovan will kind of give a half salute to the scarecrow as they pass by.
All right, yeah. So it does take, the better part of maybe another, I want to say close to an hour, but not quite. Um, just based on what you can see and how you've been walking, you would guess it's still probably morning time. And as the morning itself is kind of, deepening a bit more as you get closer to the village, the overcast skies kind of brighten just a little bit more, but are still a very dull, kind of gloomy gray. And the outskirts of the village itself comes into a bit clearer view. And you notice that around the village there is this wide dirt trench that seems to be surrounding the settlement, at least as far as you can tell on the side you are on, as it extends, basically as far as you can see to the left or right of the road around the village itself. Um, just a guesstimation is that maybe it's about 5 feet across, and it's probably only about 5 feet deep as well. But the interesting part is that inside of this trench, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of sharpened wooden stakes that are thrusting up from the soil, kind of like jagged teeth coming up from the earth. And then further still past this trench, besides, there's this tall heap of charred wood. Um, and then the road eventually goes over a makeshift wooden bridge. Um, yeah. Past that, some wooden barricades that are along the main street that you're going to, kind of positioned and using some of the structures, um, as a bit of extra wall as well. Though the structures themselves all have scorch marks and gashes, and some of the buildings' roofs that are kind of made of, like a thatching type material look like they are getting ready to cave in. Some of them have already collapsed.
So is this
Hmm?
abandoned?
Some of the ones on the outside do look it, but further in you can see the tall shapes of other dwellings that kind of stand above the rest, kind of looming out of the fog that's kind of hovering around the village itself. But you do see on these taller buildings a bit further in that there are figures standing atop these roofs. And as you approach, several of them kind of move a bit closer, and you can tell that they are kind of, leveraging some crossbows in your general direction, though they are not shooting yet. And,
Oh, that's good to know.
yep, a tall, broader-shouldered man looks to have maybe like shoulder-length blonde hair and a really, really chiseled jaw. Kind of holds up his hand when he sees you guys, and he says, "Halt! Who goes there?"
He Donovan kind of looks to the others, then back at this guy and is like, weary travelers looking to get out of the rain.
I see. Step forward. Let me get a look at you. You don't sound like the dead, but not all of the dead sound like it either.
Donovan
The
kind of
dead?
raises an eyebrow but steps forward.
Alma looks confused, but
Same.
follows suit.
So him and the other guys on these kind of rooftops will watch you guys a moment and kind of, studying you from where they are. Eventually, one of the other guys up top, who hadn't really previously talked, will climb down the side of the building to approach and kind of give you guys, like, he's kind of cautious about it, but walks around you guys, and then eventually will call back up to the gentleman on the roof. He says, "I think they're okay." And the guy on the roof will basically say, "All right, then, get in quickly. You'll find the inn near the center of town if you want to rest." He says, "Oh, before you go though, you didn't see anything strange out there, did you?"
Kind of looks over. It's like, well, it depends on your definition of strange.
I
And
mean,
he
tally
will
marks on a tree. Pretty
tally
strange.
tally mark. What do you mean? What are you talking about? Elaborate.
We
We
found tally marks on trees and a body of a dead man and a dead horse.
Hmm.
The body and the horse disappeared not long after.
Ugh. Well, if that's the worst of it, then I suppose it could definitely be worse. Please go through. You men, keep a
Kodama
watch.
nods.
Donovan nods and just moves to head on in.
Yep. So yeah, you guys will head in, and there are a number of these, um, smaller and larger structures. A lot of them seem to be abandoned. Though some still have a bit of light coming from inside, and occasionally you'll catch glimpse of someone inside. One of them kind of peering out the curtains, though. If you look back in their direction, they kind of quickly, hide from view again. Um, but eventually, you will reach the kind of town square middle of this village. There are more people like actually out of their houses here. Kind of these villagers with these like haunted expressions on their face that kind of just watch you in silence as you go past. Um, their clothes are stained, some with, dark mud, others with blood, and all of them are basically armed. Some have bows, axes, pitchforks. But you do eventually come to the tavern, or the inn that the gentleman, or at least what you assume it to be, since it is a larger multi-story building, um, with a sign that says Blood of the Vine Tavern.
He'll kind of raise an eyebrow at the name, but kind of shrug and be like, "Oh, a tavern's as good as any to to get some rest in."
Let's see.
Kodama nods.
You guys
They
want
look
to?
like they're all ready for a fight, though. We should probably be on our toes and maybe someone keep watch. Maybe we can take shifts. I don't trust any of them.
Yeah, that's valid.
All right. So yeah, you guys want to go up to the tavern? Go right on in.
Sure.
All right. I'm gonna put you guys on this map and then move you over in a second. Nope, not Luthius. Luthius isn't there. We need Donovan instead. Alright, I'm gonna move you guys over. Actually, let's preload this to make sure everyone gets loaded in fine. And also, the cat wants me to pet him. He's meowing by me.
No.
What are you doing, Bandit? Do you want to be in the game?
Yep.
He says he's right. Actually, he's decided that my lap is his new chair.
As it should be.
I mean,
Exactly.
the cat sits where the cat wants to sit, right?
Right?
Alright, so I'll move you guys over here. Oh my god, he's purring so loud. I don't know if you can hear it.
Ooh, I
Yeah,
heard
I
that.
heard that.
Yeah.
Oh, I can hear too.
He is a very happy boy right now. With the purr powers. Alright, let me see if I can get to my description with him. attacking my hand every time I move. And attacking my book. He is loving everything right now. Bandit, you're turning the pages in the book.
As he should be.
He is a very happy cat right now. He found a lap to sit in. Alright, Bandit, I need you to sit. I need you to sit on my lap. I get you. There you go. I get you want to be a chest cat, but you need to. No, don't dig your claws into me. I won't let you fall. You're okay. Alright, so yeah, you guys go into the tavern. The tavern itself is very well lit. There are a number of people in the tavern currently. One familiar face and a bunch of people you've never seen before. The familiar face, of course, being Tristan, is currently sitting at a table with 3 women, and they're all kind of just chatting, animatedly with each other, laughing, smiling. Seem to have a number of pitchers of wine on the table and are drinking and having a generally good time when you guys come in. And Tristan will kind of look up as you guys enter. He says, "Oh, hey, you're still alive. Wonderful. I hope your trip here wasn't too horrific. But I know where we are, so I wouldn't be surprised."
Donovan kind of raises an eyebrow, but he'll be like, "It was certainly odd, but creepy at worst."
So that's good then. Where's the crazy girl and the expert in the fear of vampires?
We don't know. They
We were
weren't
hoping
with
they would
us.
be with you.
Oh no. I actually woke up near the river south of here. I've been here, of
And your lady
course,
friend?
before. Oh, well, we're not related, but they may as well be family. So this here is Mirabelle, Alinka, and Sorvia. They actually own this tavern. Please,
I
please,
see.
come in, come in. You can warm yourself by the fire. If you want food or drink, Eric there can help you with that. Um, this might be a good place to wait and see if the others turn up. Assuming they, assuming the mist put them somewhere nearby and not somewhere further out, or they're not dead, or I'm sure
The
they're
mist
fine.
put them somewhere?
Oh yes, I'm sure. I assume the mist put you all somewhere, much like they put me by the river. There was no river in Borca when we left, of course. And this definitely is not Borca.
Where are we?
Well, you have the misfortune of being in Barovia.
Wasn't
Land
this where
of
we wanted to be?
perpetual mist and fog and oh no, the plan was to take you all to Mordant.
Morden.
We're pretty far from there, unfortunately.
Hmm. Have you seen your sister?
My sister?
Oh wait.
Oh,
Esmeralda.
Esmeralda?
Esmeralda.
Unfortunately not. She went to the village, what I assume is now yesterday morning. Um, we collapsed the pocket plane that the house was in. Or I should say you all collapsed the pocket plane the house was in. And, I assume she's still in Borca, or if she were on her way back, she might be around here somewhere.
Madama nods and then just starts looking over the room. from her seat.
And yeah, there are a number of people in here. A number of what look to be commoners as well that also have their pitchforks, axes, and other stuff handy. For the most part, they seem much more relaxed. When you guys first came in and everyone kind of stared at you confused, a couple of them gripped their weapons, but at Tristan's invite to come in, everyone seems to have relaxed um, a bit. And Eric, who's kind of standing there, um, kind of polishing a cup with this dirty rag that doesn't really inspire a whole lot of confidence in his cleaning ability, will kind of in a gruff voice just be like, "All right, what can I get you? We have potato stew, wine, and water. There might even be some bread left over."
Potato stew sounds good.
Yep, stew and bread.
All right then. And he'll kind of head off towards the small kitchen. Wait, no, that's his bedroom, sorry. The kitchen is actually up here. And he'll disappear for a while, and Tristan will kind of turn in his chair and introduce you guys to the people he's sitting with. And I'll show you guys that one. That is Mirabelle. And Alinka. And Sorbia. He says, so, mostly an eventful trip. What happened? We were running. I was falling. It was a long fall. Far too long. And then I woke up to the sound of the river nearby and a small clearing between some trees.
We woke to rain in the forest and noticed we were missing a few of our number, and when no one appeared, we just began following the path on the road that we found ourselves on. Found kind of looks to the others, kind of lowers his voice. Found um, what looked to be a rider and his horse, both dead, and but not long after their bodies disappeared and the message appeared, and after that we found our way here.
And he seems to be, he says, ladies, if you'll excuse me a moment. And he kind of steps over here closer. He says, what did the message say?
The The horseman rides, the seer was right.
And he will raise an eyebrow at that. Well, I suppose that's one more question to ask when we get there.
I assume you have a specific place, a thought for where there is.
Oh, yes, there's only one seer in Barovia. So, if she was right about whatever it is, another question we can ask as well as how we can get out of here. I actually needed to stop by her camp anyway. Esmeralda and I were going to drop you all in Mordant, and then she was going to bring me here, and then we were going to head back to Mordant as well, provided the myths were cooperative.
What or where exactly is Mordant?
It is a country. It's where my family was from originally.
And
And you said we're
Sorry, go ahead.
You said we're far away from there.
Correct.
Is there a way that we can ensure we arrive there? Since the
Um,
mist seem to have a mind of their own.
there are. My people, the Vistani, we have something called a mist talisman. Provided you have it in your possession and the mists are willing, you can usually ensure you reach a given destination, provided that the borders to a given, let's call them domain, isn't closed at the time. But, I mean, it should be fine, unless you guys happen to see a giant foggy wall on your way in. It should be a quick stop at the seer camp and then on to Mordant.
Well, the mist was particularly thick around the road we were on.
Now, when you say particularly thick, do you mean to say it was really foggy or that there was a impassable wall of fog that you couldn't see through at all?
The latter.
Well, then we may be here longer than I had originally anticipated, because that would lead me to believe that the domain's borders are indeed closed, though I don't know why they would be closed now. They've been open for the past, well, a great number of years as far as I know. I've come and gone from here several times over the last 10, 15 years.
Kind of nods. I was like, is is there any particular reason that the mist would be so thick for this area?
Well, and I have no um, proof of this, but it is a common rumor that the the ruler of a given land is able to open and close said borders at will. Now, as I said, this is a rumor. Um, no one has been able to substantiate it. And obviously, when asked, I'm actually, when I think about it, I'm not sure anyone has asked them directly, but it's my understanding that they've denied the ability to do so. So I don't. And he'll just kind of shrug.
Donovan kind of raises an eyebrow. I was like, is the vagueness deliberate or by choice?
Both, I assume.
Donovan kind of snorts. I was like, you. It is your words that you are speaking, so yeah, that is why I
Oh, I thought you
queried.
meant that their vagueness in answering. No, my vagueness is, as I said, I can't say how accurate any of that is. Perhaps they can control the borders to their nations. Perhaps they can't. Um, as I said, they've been open until now, apparently, provided they are even closed. Maybe it's just a weather fluke. Does sound like it's storming outside. Um, let's hope for the best and prepare for the worst. I think that's the saying, or maybe I
Donovan nods.
I just made that up. I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds about right. The question is, you spoke that the rulers of these lands can control this. Who rules this land? And I I assume you don't know why they would particularly close it.
Um, here, one second. And then got it around here somewhere. There we go. And he pulls out a sheet of parchment and a pen and inkwell. And, well, kind of scribble out a few words um, before bringing it back over. And we'll hand you the piece of paper. Kitty, you're making it really hard to type. And then we'll kind of walk back to his old seat, turn around, and just smile as if he's waiting for something.
Donovan kind of watches him very distrustingly, but will look at the paper.
And he just kind of, motions to the paper.
Donovan looks to the other two. I was like, he kind of under his breath, kind of whispers like, he has a shit-eating grin. I was like, I have a feeling that there's a reason he hasn't said this name.
I don't think we should say that name out loud.
That's a good idea.
Oh,
He
come now.
nods.
What's the fun if you don't say it?
Then you say it.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
no.
say it then.
I can't say it.
Exactly.
For reasons.
Then you don't need to
Reasons
then.
beyond your comprehension. But trust me, they are reasons nonetheless.
He kind of he'll kind of just look it over, kind of memorize the name, and then he'll just kind of hold the paper over a nearby candle.
And he will lean in and he whispers to you, Kardama, and he says, Strahd. Wrong sound wave. Wrong sound wave. There we go. And there is a sudden, loud bang of thunder outside. Funny, right? The shit-eating
Yeah.
grin never leaves his face.
Look for
He
shame.
seems quite amused.
Wait, I'm sorry. Which was the wrong soundbite? Because they kind of overlapped on my
All
side.
of them were wrong except for this one.
Oh. Cardama stiffens and looks at the others. I heard a wolf's howl, and I think y'all know how I feel about wolves.
I don't think the wolf's howl
Yeah,
actually
no,
happened.
it was just the
Oh.
thunder, just the thunder, yeah.
It was the
I thought you
lightning.
said it was everything
Yeah,
but
we'll let
the
thunder
lightning.
either.
No, it was specifically just the thunder, yeah. That was my bad. I have them all labeled, and I thought I knew which one was which, so I used the hotkey number,
sorry.
and I was wrong twice.
Cardama looks at the two. I don't think he physically can say the name.
That or he kind of takes a deep breath. That or saying the name causes a specific reaction. He kind of pauses and then it's like kind of whispers Strahd von Zork before the guy comes back. I was like, and then he kind of looks up and was like, yeah. I was like, that's not going to be annoying.
And Eric will eventually come back, bringing you guys these large bowls of piping hot potato stew, as well as what looks to be kind of half of this old style rustic bread that he'll put on the counter there for you guys. Says, drink, all we have is water and wine, I'm afraid.
Water will do fine.
Water's fine. Yes.
Oh, yeah, and he'll fill
I'll
up a
take
number.
wine.
Yeah, and he will fill up the waters for them. And Tristan will actually kind of motion you over, Kardama, if you want the wine, since they currently have. He says, "Here, feel free, have a cup. It's the good stuff. Well, the better than normal stuff."
She nods and takes the glass. I'm sure it's fine. Probably better than what I'm used to.
And it actually is a pretty decent wine. Definitely a step above like the cheap stuff. As you can imagine, it has a very nice. We're not even getting into wine descriptions here, but it has one of those. I'm not much of a wine drinker personally.
She takes it and she takes a sip and she nods. Actually, this is pretty good.
So is that one of the few good things to come out of this land? Shame they don't have enough for serious export, but the drinks in Mordant are more varied, at least. Mead, wine, and other spirits. He says, but please, eat up. I'm sure you guys had quite the trek to get here. It sounds like you were put much further out than I was.
And I don't think we've eaten since,
The night before. Yeah, you guys have. Well,
Well,
actually,
yeah.
longer than the night before. Yeah.
Well, they had the apple and the
Yeah.
jerky,
yeah.
so yeah. Around 24 hours.
Yeah, you guys are
Hours.
probably pretty hungry since you guys, found each other, went to the Witchstone, but never really paused for breakfast, and then promptly
Yeah.
passed out.
Fair point. So yeah, Donovan will kind of dig in, even if it is, like he's survived on pretty awful food before. So like, if it's even passably, edible, he'll dig in.
So yeah, it's decent enough. Just has kind of the basic spices you would expect, a little bit of salt, um, potato, and there's a little bit of some sort of meat in it. What exactly it is. It tastes good though. So, and while you guys are eating, this gentleman here, um, will kind of come down, and he says, "Well met, friends. New to the area, I take it."
He kind of looks over and kind of nods. It's like, you'd be correct.
As well, as the acting burgomaster of this village, I bid you welcome to Barovia Village. If you guys have any questions, I would be glad to answer them. And I really must apologize for the state of our village. It's usually a much nicer place, but we've had a bit of a problem recently. But I won't trouble you with that.
I would like to hear it.
As would I. You guys look quite ready for a fight.
Well, um, so where to start?
The beginning is usually a good spot to start.
That's the real question. What would be the proper beginning? So, um, it was, well, maybe 3 months ago. Um, we had a stranger come to the village. Um, an uncommon enough occurrence, to be sure. The mists do deposit individuals on occasion, though it's rare. It had been a while since the last stranger not from any of the local villages wandered into our town. Um, he met with the son of the village priest, um, Doru. That was the priest's son's name. And the two of them started talking about, rebellion and breaking free from the yoke of our oppressive dictator and whatnot, and actually managed to rally a good portion of the town. Um, they
Your,
hmm?
your dictator? Who's your
Oh
dictator?
oh no, the kind of points to the probably the ashes of the bit of paper that Donovan, um you know the one. I'd rather not say
Oh,
his
that one.
name if I can avoid it.
You either, huh?
So they marched up to the castle hoping to free the valley from its prison in the mists, though the mists had been quite docile until recently. Suffice to say, none of them came back. But we had another visitor, a what did he refer to himself as? Oh gosh. Well, for lack of a better word, I'm just going to say he came with a message from the Lord of this lands that said, 90 days. You have 90 days to prepare yourselves for this act of defiance. No one had
Um,
seen this man before. No one could really be sure to his connection to the leader or, what even happened to those who went to the castle. But sure enough, the 90 days passed. That was about, I don't know, a little under a week ago, um, when the dead rose up and attacked the town. Um, it's actually been happening every night for the past, well, just under a week, as I said. Every night, the undead rise, including those that weren't dead previously, and attack the town. We've beat them back, um, thus far. Um,
Is that happening again tonight?
um, I mean, in theory, it happened last night. I'm sure you saw the wall and the trench on your way in.
that we did.
How about what time does this happen?
Oh, usually just after full darkness sets in. Which
And you
by
said those.
my estimation is still a good number of hours away at this point.
You said those that were not previously dead before. Does that mean
Which is to say, they died in the defense the night before. It's why
okay?
we've actually taken to burning all of the bodies,
That's what that
newly
was.
dead and already undead, as we can. It does seem to have
Prepare the
helped.
nearly dead.
It's diminished the size of the attack on the city. Though there's honestly not that many of us left. A number of villagers actually fled out to the west to Valaki, hoping to hunker down there. I dare say most of the village, well, maybe not most, but over half the village is abandoned at this point.
So why remain?
Exactly.
Well, it's complicated. My father was the previous burgomaster. He chose to stay and fight till the end. Um, so here we are. He recently passed on as well, unfortunately.
Hmm.
So if this is happening nightly, wouldn't it be safer to abandon the town?
He says, I can see the wisdom in it, but you have to understand, we Barovians are a stubborn bunch. Not everyone is willing to simply pack up and try to move on to Valaki, even if we're let inside the walls, which most of the common folk probably wouldn't. It's a no-win situation. Um, I imagine half the group would probably perish just on the trek through the forest to the town.
Hmm. So what's the best way to defeat these undead if they do get past the border or your
Um,
defenses?
we keep our civilian militia up on the roofs. Crossbows seem to work well enough. We're lucky in that At least as far as I know, all of the attackers seem to have been the mindless variety of undead. They kind of just throw themselves at the village, trying to tear down walls, bust through doors, kill anyone they come into contact with, but they're not really driven by any tactics or anything other than seemingly a lust for blood.
Okay. So not vampires.
Oh, no, I think it's mostly been skeletons, zombies, things of that
I don't
nature.
know.
Oh gosh, if it
Hmm.
were vampires, I dare say the town might have been sacked already. I hope there's no vampires.
I just had to ask for a member of our party that's missing.
N-
Um, so they tend to fall into that trench easily then.
Some will, others will inevitably just go down the road to be stopped by the barriers and other things. And we're about to have an ad break in theory, so I'm going to.
Okay.
We're gonna pause here before the ad break. Go get a drink. Go to the bathroom. If it doesn't start the ad, I'm gonna force the ad anyway. So
All right. Bear back.
do let me know if the ad actually
Same.
starts, though, if you can, because it says starting soon, but you know how it goes.
Yeah. I'll be right back as well.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna run AFK a sec too, just to stretch and get out of my chair. All right, ad break in progress.
And over.
Back.
Yeah, it still says the ad break's in progress. I'm gonna wait till the timer wears off. It's about a minute. I think most of us are back, so and then we will see what happens. Terrible things.
terrible, horrible thing.
It's true. In a good way.
Dogs and cats living together.
Mass hysteria.
Things that Uni would love.
Apparently.
Totally.
Totally.
She's missing out.
She's missing out on all the excitement.
Alright. Well, I think we're back. I'm not sure if Donovan's back.
Yep. Oh, I don't know.
We'll give him a second to get back. And if not, we'll just go and he can kind of catch up a little bit. But yeah, you guys have any questions for the gentleman? He did say he'd answer any questions you had.
Wow, if this is happening in a couple hours.
He says, oh, I mean, you have half a day ahead of you at this point, I think. Well, maybe not quite half a day. Maybe, 8 hours, 7, 8 hours.
Do we need to rest?
Assuming they even come back tonight. Like I said, the horde was definitely thinner last night. I really can't say for certain. He says, but I assume you guys aren't want to hang around here indefinitely, and that at some point you plan to move on. Am I correct in that?
Hopefully.
He says, well then,
Yeah.
I have a bit of a request for you if you're interested. The plan was to bring my father's body to the church to be, well, religious service, and to have the priest there put his ashes in the family crypt. But I still need to get the body to the church. If you all wouldn't mind helping me with that, as well as with another request I have. And he kind of points back to the woman who's sitting at the table where he was sitting. This red-haired woman who's kind of sipping on her own glass of wine. He says, I was actually hoping to send my sister to Vallaki, where it would be safe. Given everything that's happened here, I feel it's only fair that I remain as acting burgomaster, but I would feel much better if she were taken to the church in Vallaki. If what I understand is correct, it's holy ground, and she should be safer there.
And where's that?
Oh, in Vallaki. It's another village west of here, past the Sur Falls, and the old windmill.
And you said it's safer there?
Well, they do have an actual wall around their city, not a 5-foot pit. And as far as I know, they aren't being besieged by the undead. As far as I know.
It might be safer for us to be there as well.
And he nods his
The
head.
whole town, probably.
He says, well, as I said, we Barovians are a stubborn lot. Those that remained,
I can tell.
I doubt that even now they would leave, even if given the option. Even my sister doesn't wish to leave, but she'll listen to me if I insist.
This man has been open and honest with. Maybe we should help him.
And Tristan will kind of chime in. He'll say, well, we were on our way to the Sur Falls anyway. It's not too much further past that, and if the borders are closed, then just kind of lets his voice trail off and appears to be lost in thought. And he'll introduce himself as Ismark. And he'll say, "Wonderful. If you're willing to help me with this, you are more than welcome to stay at the Burgomaster Manor tonight. Probably safer against if the undead do return. Um, though if they do and you wish to be of assistance, I certainly won't turn you away. But as you are our guests here, I wouldn't dream of forcing you all to fight.
I'm quite good with a bow, so if aid is needed, I will help.
Donovan nods. It's like, I'm better with the sword, but if you have a spare bow, I know my way around one.
So yeah, as you guys are talking to him, and he basically was about to invite you guys over to the table to meet his sister. The door to the tavern swings open again, a bit more violently, and this kind of harried-looking woman steps through. Um, Kind of has this tattered and threadbare cloak with a hood on, um, and she looks around kind of frantically. Um, it's obvious she's afraid of something, and her gaze eventually settles on Ismark, and she kind of rushes over to him, and it's obvious just from the look on her face. Her eyes are kind of blotchy, a bit of dried tears kind of staining across her cheeks, and her voice is kind of ragged, in what could probably best be described as like just this haunting whisper. And she says, "Oh, thank goodness you're here, Master Kolyanovich. I apologize if I'm interrupting you and your guests, but have you seen Gertruda? She's missing." And she kind of looks around. She says, "And Nori isn't in the stable either. I think she's gone up to the castle alone. Have you seen her?" Um, and Ismark looks a little um, bothered by this, and shakes his head. He says, "No, no, I've not seen her. I, uh, we'll get people out to look for her as soon as we can. As soon as the hunters get back, I'll do what we can, Mary. You have my word." And she looks a little, she's still kind of chestfallen about the whole thing. And she just kind of falls to a slump, like on the floor there, and just starts crying again. At which point, he's still trying to comfort her, and he says, "Don't worry, if she's out there, we'll find her and bring her home safely. I promise." Um, and when he says that, a couple of the other like people around the tavern kind of like huff and scoff a little bit, but don't really do much beyond that. Eventually, he kind of stands her back up in place, um, and we'll leave you guys aside as he kind of goes with her back over here. Um, probably leaving you to your own devices for a couple of minutes. If there's anything you guys want to chat about.
Donovan kind of looks over, towards the towards the burgomaster and the woman, and it kind of looks like they said that she went up towards the castle.
You
That
guys see a castle?
It was on that
Yeah,
hill. Yep.
yeah, the
Okay, well,
big
then
ass
I'll check.
castle on the hill.
Is there anyone living there?
And Tristan just kind of smiles and again motions to the ashes of the paper on the table.
Ah,
Ah, he kind of looks over. Was like, well, we have a couple of options. Uh, it sounds like there's going to be, more zombies tonight, and uh, the burgomaster needs our help um, with his father. But it's not to say that we couldn't go visit the master of the land and before we make that trip, since I assume that the castle is closer than wherever we're taking it. The burgomaster's sister.
And Tristan's like, if I don't want to sound more negative than I already do, but if the girl made it to the castle, that's the end of it, I'm afraid.
What do you
that's
mean?
good.
There are things that live there in addition to its main occupant, the undead, of course, and other things.
So you're saying it's too late for her?
I mean, it's possible she never made it there. It's possible she simply went to Valaki. It's anything is possible, sort of.
Huh.
Mm. He kind of sighs. I was like, okay, well then, it seems we will not be making that detour. So, it
Perhaps
seems
we
like
should just focus on surviving the night.
agreed. So, do we want to try and help um, with the undead if they do attack tonight, or shall we just save our energy for what comes tomorrow?
I will help if they need it.
Yeah, I would say help tonight.
Hmm.
By helping them, we also save ourselves.
Exactly.
And eventually, it looks like Mary kind of pulls herself back together, and kind of says, "Please let me know if you learn anything, Ismark." And he reassures her more before eventually um, returning to you all. He says, sorry about that. Poor girl. I assume she went looking for Doru, but I just hope she didn't go to the castle. But
Well, one can only hope.
but please join us if you wish, and he'll head back to his table up there with his sister, and they exchange some words while you guys are kind of
Yeah,
presumably heading up there for a seat.
yeah, he'll grab his bowl and water and then just move, move over there.
And you can hear that she's kind of protesting a little bit. Um, she says, "I already told you, Ismark, I don't want to go to Valaki. My place is here with our people." And he's just kind of saying that if anything happened to you, I would be blah blah blah. Um, eventually, she kind of seems like she's partially given up on the idea of protesting it. And he says, "Ah, so. Oh, I'm afraid I didn't get your names. But I'm Ismark. This is my sister Irina, and please, who are introductions?"
He, Donovan will kind of give a small bow from where he's seated. Like, my name is Donovan. Donovan Radara. It's nice to meet both of you.
Kardama gives a soft nod of her head and goes, I'm Kardama.
He says, "Perfect, perfect." Dakota, were you saying
Um,
something?
Just my name,
Okay. Dakota.
Dakota.
Dakota calls out from the bar across the room to let them know who she is.
Sure, I'll wait. I didn't realize you guys moved. Ow. Shows how much I'm paying attention.
Well, you better pay attention. You'll be the first one to die in combat.
I'll come running over.
Goes running over.
Wait for me.
He says, "So, yes, that's the plan, is to bring the body to the church. We might even be able to do that this afternoon if you're all up for it. The sooner the better. And then I've actually been readying some supplies that you all are more than welcome to escort her to Valaki. Um, I think it's for the best, sister. She's still a little huffy about the whole plan, but doesn't actively voice that at the moment. Says, and of course you'd be more than welcome to, as I said, to stay at the manor tonight. I can't guarantee its safety. The undead have been. Well, I don't want to sound paranoid, but it does seem as though they are perhaps targeting the manor a bit more actively than some of the other parts of town.
Hmm.
Well,
You have a reason for that?
I really couldn't say, unless they simply mean to. Whatever's directing them has them targeting the leadership.
well, fair enough point.
As I said before, if I'm needed, I will help defend. We just,
He
we
says,
would just
well,
gladly take you up on the offer for a safe place for the night.
he'll
As
nod his
safe
head.
as can be.
He says, wonderful. If, yes, I think, and the weather outside doesn't seem too bad. I think my rain thing is still playing, but it's not actually, um, raining outside at the moment. He says, wonderful. Then if you wouldn't mind helping me bring the body to the church, perhaps the father can say a blessing for our defense tonight, if needed, and for your trip tomorrow.
Sounds like a plan.
Kardama
Uh,
nods.
This is wonderful,
I
and
agree.
him and Irina will lead you guys out of the tavern, um, kind of to the north, down the main street that leads to the square that the tavern was a part of. And Tristan will excuse himself from the three women he'd been chatting with and will follow after you guys. Still looking just incredibly amused by basically everything, despite the dire circumstances. And eventually, you guys will reach the manor house, which is the biggest building in the city. A two-story structure. And one second, I actually really like the actual book's description of this house. I think it's one of the good ones that I don't usually change much. Let me find it in the book real quick here. Alright, so the manor itself is a weary looking mansion that kind of squats behind a rusting iron fence. The iron gates are twisted and torn. The right gate lies cast aside while the left swings lazily in the wind. The stuttering squeal and clang of the gate repeats with mindless precision. Weeds choke the ground and press with menace upon the house itself. Yet against the walls, the growth has been trampled down to create a path all about the manor. Heavy claw markings have stripped the once beautiful finish from the walls. Great black marks tell of the fires that have assailed the mansion. Not a pane nor a shard of glass stands in any window. All of the windows are barred with planks, each one marked with stains of evil omen. It's a nice building, as you can tell.
Indeed.
And yeah, he will lead you into the main hall, like the entryway to the building, and then kind of off to a little side room that you would guess at one point was a sitting room. Um, at the moment, though, there is a casket sitting in the middle of the room on what you would assume to be was the central coffee table equivalent in the sitting room. And inside it is a body. An older gentleman, obviously related to Ismark there, as they share a number of, just similar features, in terms of like facial structure and the like. Um, and yeah, he says this, well, we're not really sure what happened. Last night during the, the fight, he just collapsed. He didn't get back up.
And potentially it's stress.
Says it
Very
has been a
typical.
stressful week, to be certain.
Sorry for your loss.
Says, oh, thank you. He I don't know if he said it in jest or not, but he said he was pretty sure he wasn't going to survive through it all, but he always had a smile on his face. I think he wanted I uh, you get the feeling that he's kind of, still obviously bothered by what's happened. He says, I think Irene and myself might have had a bit of a hard time carrying this to the church, but with your help, I'm certain we can um, get it
We can
to.
help you. We'll get
Yeah,
him there for you.
and he nods
Kadama
his
nods.
head. And yeah, between the lot of you, no real role is needed. Um, and you guys will head toward the church. Um, and I'm going to park you guys on this map in a second.
Okay.
Here. I think this is the right one. Not to put your tokens down, that's okay. Give me a second here. We got Dakota, Adama, Donovan, and Tristan. So yeah, you guys will come up, and he'll kind of motion for you guys to wait a moment, and we'll kind of go up to the door, and he knocks,
Oh,
loudly on the door, which kind of echoes out through the cold air, and it's definitely much foggier around the church than it had been around the manor or on the streets leading up to it. And you hear him knock again. Um, Still no reply. And he kind of turns back to you guys, and you hear a voice call out from down the street behind you. And one of the gentlemen from the tavern, this gentleman here, will kind of call out, and he won't come out. And he kind of steps, just kind of giving you guys a glance and nod, um, which seems to be mostly directed more at Irina than you guys, as he goes up to where Ismark is. And his clothes are kind of, a little disheveled, blood-stained. Like, he looks like he's been in a few brawls recently as well. And he says, not since, well, you know what happened. And he kind of just moves up to lean against the wall and watch you all. And Ismark just kind of sighs. He says, oh, Periwimple, what are you doing here? He says, oh, I was just out for a walk. It helps me think. I assume, yes, I'm sorry about your father, Ismark. And Ismark just kind of, nods his head. Ismark will eventually kind of pound on the door again and call out, be like, "Please, Father, I've come to deliver the body. We need you to let us in." And he kind of slumps against the door slightly, and then you hear the door click open. Kind of a 10-foot wide, 20-foot long hallway that leads into this brightly lit but very destroyed chapel interior. Debris and everything else just kind of scattered about the room. And he opens the door and then just kind of immediately walks back up to this altar and begins to mumble a prayer.
Okay.
And Ismark will kind of motion you guys up to follow.
Alright, I'll move up
Let's
to
go.
follow with like kind of keeping, like, I know we're all kind of disjointed, but kind of keeping together to bring the casket in.
Yeah.
Body.
And yeah, you guys can kind of probably just set it down somewhere on the side. He's still kind of mumble praying up at this altar, but he will stop to kind of like mumble to Ismark, and he says, I cannot offer the blessing you seek. Go, and leave this accursed place in peace. And then turns his head back to the altar. It is during that you hear something that seems to be coming from the floor beneath where you're standing.
Donovan kind of just looks down and then looks over at Ismark as if to ask if he heard it.
Ismark definitely kind of like froze in place as he was about to say something. And he says, Father, what was that? Was that... And you hear the voice call out again.
I definitely hear someone crying out for help. Cardona
Yes.
says, looking over at Donovan.
Donovan nods. It's like he kind of looks at the father. It's like, care to explain yourself?
And he's still kind of in prayer for a moment, but eventually he'll kind of stand up, um, shoulders slumped, and kind of just falls forward, leaning against this altar here. And it's obviously that he's been, crying and whatnot too, reddened cheeks. In fact, there's some fresh tears currently coming down his face. He says, "It's my son. He went to the castle, but he came back changed, different." And Ismark is looking, pretty surprised by this. He says, "What do you mean, Doru came back? I thought no one came back." He says, "It's that thing. It's not my son, though it wears his face."
In what ways has he changed?
He he seems like he's kind of pausing to think. He's the pallor of his skin, the eyes, the fangs.
Donovan,
Thanks.
yeah, Donovan kind of lets out a curse.
He kind of looks at Ismark. He says, "You know what this means, Ismark. I know what has to be done, but it's still my son. I can't do it. I lured him to the basement and locked him in."
So you
Yeah.
know what he is then?
The undead.
And you know he can't remain alive or undead.
He says, "As I said, I know what needs to be done, but I don't have the strength to do it. He's still my son, after all."
Donovan kind of sighs. It's like, it is death either way. It's either he starves or he put down.
Cardona nods.
I agree.
He says, "That thing it's a mockery of my son. He showed back up just before the siege began, creeping around the church in the middle of the night. And ever since he came back, I can no longer feel the Morning Lord's presence. I'm afraid I cannot help you with your father."
He kind of raises an eyebrow. I assume that is the deity here.
And he'll nod his head. He says, I gave my son my holy symbol when he left for the castle. The creature has it. I suspect that's why the power is lost to me."
Donovan kind of sighs and kind of looks to the others. It's like, oh, I assume that that our job here is not quite done until the proper rites have been done. So
Cardona nods.
it's
Agreed.
like he kind of sighs.
There's
It's like,
something needs to be done.
yeah, it's like we will go down and we will We will take care of this for you.
And he kind of wipes some of the tears away on his cheek. That just kind of smears, a bit of dirt. It doesn't look like he's probably bathed recently, or eaten or done much of anything except for pray kind of fervently at this altar. Um, but he'll eventually pull a large ring of keys from the inside of the altar and will kind of just wordlessly and with just a very slow, defeated shuffle head down here to unlock this door. And Ismark will tell Irina, he says, no, you can't go down there. Go wait outside with Periwimple. And, she kind of protests again, even as the rest of you head down to the room.
Over here.
But eventually, yeah, she'll kind of
Over here.
stomp off and head. Yeah, go back in the building, Dakota, and then go through the side door.
It's hard to tell.
Over here.
Here, Dakota, we're just gonna. There you go. Right
I
in
just
there.
moved myself.
I don't know. I don't trust you.
You don't want me?
I don't trust you.
Wow.
Ow.
And let's go ahead and step on that square. Dang, Kardama's just charging off boldly into the darkness.
Sorry, I was
Yeah.
trying to see if it was gonna, since I have the night vision, if it was gonna brighten up a
Yeah.
little bit.
He'll,
Not bad.
yeah, he will slowly, once he realizes it's pretty dark down here, he will pull out a torch and light it.
Yep, it is basically pitch black down here when you guys first come down. And you can hear something moving around in the darkness, seemingly on the ceiling, crawling around. And Donovich is like, he followed you guys down, but his eyes kind of go wide, and he is definitely not leaving the stairs that lead down. In fact, he's kind of got one hand already on the ladder, and you get the feeling that if it came down to it, he would just lock all of you down here if it meant this thing potentially getting away. So yeah, what do you guys
Should
want to
I
do?
stand by the door? I am
Yeah.
ranged.
And Donovan will kind of move forward and kind of look around the ceiling, kind of holding out the torch to try and spot whatever it is.
And I'll stay near the door. Hopefully block it if he tries to close it.
And
No.
you hear a voice that kind of calls out from this back corner. And it's very different than the voice you heard through the floor. It's very calm. It doesn't seem bothered or worried or anything. And it says, "Ah, and who are you then?"
People of no import.
He says, "Then tell me, people of no import, what brings you here? Strange place for a get-together? Unless my father means to lock you all down here as well."
Speaking of your father, he feels that that you have something that is making it so he can no longer do the proper rites.
Oh, his holy symbol to the Morning Lord. Yes, I still have it. If he wanted it back, all he needed to do was ask. And you see something kind of moving out of the shadows up here. And it's kind of The ceiling in this little area you're in is probably about 15 feet. Um, and this gentleman is currently walking upside down on the ceiling towards you all. And he says, "Well, I suppose I could return it to him. I mean, had he asked, I would have simply given it to him anyway."
You could give it to us and we could deliver it to him.
Says, "That's fair. But tell me, why have you come here? Did he tell you I am some creature making a mockery of his son that need be destroyed? I suppose you're to be my executioner then."
Cordova simply nods.
He says, "It's quite
Grandma's gave him those
sad
silver bullets.
that he won't listen to reason, of course. I am still his son, whether or not he chooses to believe that. But as a gesture of goodwill, here." And he'll walk over and pulls the talisman off of his neck and kind of hands it down to you, Donovan.
Donovan will take it, kind of looking up at him, and kind of just giving him a look. It's like, why were you calling out earlier?
Oh, because I heard people upstairs. It gets dreadfully lonely down here, as I'm sure you can imagine. Plus, I was hoping
Donovan.
that my father might see this, us being civil, and realize that just because I'm changed doesn't mean that I'm not still the same person he knows. Besides, it did get you down here. Had I spoke to you like this, I'm sure you would have assumed some sinister ulterior motive, but you know how quickly people will come to your aid when they hear you crying out in despair. Well, some people anyway.
It did sound like you were in distress,
Oh yes,
but I feel like that was a ruse.
you would be correct. I'm sure he's told you what I find myself as now, and provided you know even a little bit about that, I'm sure you realize how silly it would be to think that he's keeping me here by force and not simply because I choose to be here.
And why haven't you left?
Well, it's my hope that given enough time, eventually his, well, this is going to sound much worse than it is, but eventually he would give in and come down here, and we might have a proper conversation again. I admit I did try to reason with him as one might normally, not that it got me anywhere. So I took to, crying out in anguish, "So hungry," in hopes of appealing to his good nature. Not that it seems to have done too much good.
Donovan will kind of slowly frown. It's like, pardon my perhaps bluntness, perhaps ignorant, but my understanding of vampires is that vampires mainly subside off of blood. The absence of it for a prolonged period would drive you crazy in and of itself.
You would be correct, I think, in most circumstances. Um, it's strange, and I really don't expect you, or definitely not my father, to understand, but I chose to remain down here myself. I wasn't locked away. He didn't lure me in. I'm quick enough I could have reached the door and gotten out before he got up the stairs if I really wanted to. But I took this as a challenge, a test of my faith. I prayed to the Morning Lord. hours. It might have even been days. Until I heard him, or at least I thought I heard him. It was comforting. It felt familiar. And when I came back from this, I don't know how to describe it. A daze. I don't sleep as you do, though I do rest. But when I came back, I found that the urgings, the urges, the feelings, they were gone, replaced only with calmness. Of course, I can't guarantee that, well, if if there were a bleeding person in front of me, I can't guarantee I wouldn't partake, but I feel calm. I feel satisfied and content to remain here.
Donovan kind of just looks at the sun, looks back at the other two. He kind of pauses and he's like, "Your father states that he no longer feels the presence of this like, Dawn Lord, uh,
Morning, Lord.
Morning Lord." I was like,
Oh, the Morning Lord's always with us. I think he simply lost faith when I came back. Or perhaps he puts too much belief in the holy symbol and not enough belief in himself.
hmm.
So
And
you're saying that
Don,
you don't
well, one thing.
urge to.
Oh, let me one thing. Donovan, you would find it incredibly strange that this undead creature was holding this holy symbol and wearing it around his neck and is seemingly suffering no ill effects from it. In fact, he handled it completely casually.
Yeah, Donovan had kind of noticed that, but uh, he's assuming that the father is kind of still standing there. It's not something he really wanted to like blurt out, but yes, that is. I yeah, I would. He would definitely be like, this is like definitely unusual, but he's also not just like not going to cut his hand and test to see
Yeah.
how much self control this thing has. So he has the symbol and kind of nods. It's like he looks at the other two. It's like I see no reason to kill you, provided that you can stop tormenting your father long enough for him to hopefully come to his senses. I imagine that most of those capable of, as you said, dealing with you, are either gone, went to the castle, or were taken down during the raids on the village. Though he kind of pauses. It's like, if you truly wish to show that you mean no harm, perhaps uh, helping save your village might get some goodwill.
He says, I could I could do that. Though I think the penance has been played, or at least paid, or at least that's what the blood tells me. You see, he kind
Raises an
of
eyebrow.
he kind of like looks around the room. And what were you gonna say, Kardama? Before I cut you off, sorry.
I was just going to ask, um, if he was certain he didn't have the desire to kill us right now.
Says I see no reason to kill you. Um, and not to sound particularly full of myself, but I suspect it really wouldn't be too much of a hassle to put down all of you if I chose. No offense, of course. You all seem capable enough. though you're obviously well out of your league here. He says, but yes, you've given me much to think about. And as I have not much else to do while down here, think I shall. But please take the talisman, return it to my father. Tell Ismark I'm sorry about his father. We all grew up together. I knew him quite well.
One of the nods, like, we will pass that message along.
He says, and if you see... And he seems to be considering whether or not he wants to say it. But eventually does. And if you see my Gertruda, just tell her I'm dead. It's for the best that she not come looking for me.
Donovan pauses and kind of looks back because he turned to head to the stairs. He's like, that will be more difficult as she has already left the village to do so.
And he was starting to turn to walk back to his corner, and it even started to say what you assume is a prayer of some kind. O radiant dawn, morning lord, bringer of light, your golden rays chase away the shroud of night. In this land of shadow, fear, and despair, let your warmth remind us that hope is still there. And it's when you say that he kind of pauses between verses and turns around to face you all again. He says, What do you mean?
Donovan kind of just gives him a look, but, he's just been kind of very direct and blunt. So he's like...
She's gone to the castle, hasn't she?
He nods. Like, we had considered going to try and find her, but we're told that if she had even made it that far, that making it to the castle was essentially a place that she would not come back from.
And he nods his head, and he seems to be kind of thinking to himself. He says, well, I'm going to the castle. You can attempt to stop me if you wish. I won't harm you as I pass, but should you get in my way, I won't hesitate to move you.
Donovan kind of looks for a moment, and then he will step aside, and it's like, if you are to do battle, then may Gorm guide your blade.
And it's at this point that Father Donovich, I don't think he introduced himself, is scrambling up the ladder. And you hear the trapdoor slam shut, and the chains and padlocks that he is currently trying to frenzily, lock back up. But Doru kind of just pushes by you guys completely casually and at ease, and with something that looks akin to, you just doing maybe like a light punch over your head, smashes through the chains, the wood, and proceeds to climb out of the undercroft.
I'll climb up after him.
Yeah, Donovan will move to follow up after him.
And yeah, when you guys get there, Ismark is currently like back up against a wall, just eyes wide, staring in complete confusion as Doru heads out of the church. Irina actually tries to run up over to him, and he kind of just, holds up a hand to stop her, um, and whispers something to her. If you want to give me a blind perception to try to catch what it is, and then he will head out quite quickly. Um,
Everyone?
yeah,
Yeah.
anyone who's kind of in range, because he does stop and he gives Ismark a nod and then heads outside. Irina runs over. He kind of stops her, but he does whisper something to her. And Periwimple too is just kind of staring, wide-eyed at him. And Dakota, you and well, just you actually, Donovan and Kardama both hear him say, "Go to Valaki, Irina. It's not safe for you here. He knows you're here. He's coming." And then we'll disappear into the graveyard behind, leaving Father Donovich kind of still cowering in this room. Doesn't seem to be hurt, but he is looking. And ads. Son of a. Actually, that was a good
Uh,
spot for the ads to pause for a moment.
okay.
Yeah, if anyone needs to
Funny
restroom.
that showing up on me.
Yeah, it's gonna start soon, it says, and because I have no way of
Oh,
knowing
shit.
exactly when it starts, we'll take like a little 5-minute break if you need a bathroom or need water. I'm gonna drink some water.
Yep, I'll be back to you.
Yep. Or if you want a snack, put in a DoorDash order for God knows what. I do wish it would just start the ads when it says ads when the counter hits 0. And there it goes.
No more ads on mine.
All right. Let's see what the thing says. Yeah, it still says there's a minute, so we'll wait it out. And then we'll pick up when it says the ads are over. Just to make sure. 15 seconds. $10. Alright, well, we should be back. So yeah, he will disappear around the corner into the graveyard as Tristan comes up, shuffling his deck of cards again. He says, well, that's interesting.
Hmm. Donovan will nod. It's like, uh, then we'll pull out the symbol and hand it over to Father Donovich and be like, your son wanted this returned to you.
And he'll kind of take it, but seems to be currently, just trying to process everything that happened. And will remain quiet for the moment.
We'll come back out here.
Yeah, and Tristan will pull a card from the top of his deck.
Yeah, I wonder what that's gonna be.
And walks
Hello.
over and actually hands it to you, Dakota.
Is it the death card again, Dakota?
I mean, Dakota's got to
She
flip the
takes a
card.
peek. Oh, yeah,
The-
flip the card.
The card is the Four of Glyphs, the Shepherd card.
So we're doing an escort mission. That's what you're saying.
Says, there are those who protect others. One who bears a burden far too great to be shouldered alone. And he kind of nods in the direction where the man disappeared. And it's at that point that you see another figure begin walking closer through the fog from down here. Moving with confidence. Doesn't seem at all hindered by the thick fog. Maybe even a bit of an unnatural sway to the way he's kind of stalking through the mist. And he pauses and kind of just looks around at everyone gathered. He says, oh, some sort of party? And I wasn't invited. Well, this isn't at all what I expected. Ismark, it's good to see you again, Irina. Periwimple, I didn't know you would be here. I thought you never went anywhere near the church. That's okay. I actually just came to pick up a friend of mine, if you don't mind. I just need to get in there. And he kind of points to the door that you're standing by, Dakota.
Donovan kind of raises an eyebrow. It's like, do you wish to speak with Father Donovich?
Oh no, I imagine he wouldn't be very pleased to see me. I actually came to speak with Doru, and to bring him back with me. I assume he's still lingering in the Undercroft.
Donovan shakes his head and is like, unfortunately, you just missed him. But you are more than welcome to go check if you wish.
Oh. Did he escape earlier? What I feel like I'm missing something.
He kind of walked away.
Ace. And he kind of pauses and looks around briefly. He says, well, seems he's going the long way, and I'm not dressed for trekking through the forest or up the side of a mountain, so I'll just meet him back home then.
Back
Irina,
home.
you
So
look
are you?
bothered. And you can tell, like, she definitely is looking a little upset. He says, I'm sorry. And he will head back down the road the way he came. At this point,
Donovan.
Tristan
Yeah.
is kind of like looking at Irina, his mark, back down the road.
Donovan kind of raises an eyebrow. Am I to take it that was the master of this land or just one of his lackeys?
And none of them are super quick to answer, though eventually Parawhipple seems to come to his senses first and shakes his head. No, that was Escher. He went with Doru to the castle. That was um Irina's ex-fiance? Still, does I don't know how um that interacts with. Are they? And he seems like he's trying to work out, the logistics of her
So
Oh,
sort of dead fiance coming back.
Donovan slowly nods.
How?
So, and kind of mumbles to himself. So, lackey, but perhaps a little bit more personal than anticipated.
He says, maybe I don't know of any other. Well, I mean, if the stories are to be believed, then yes. I've never met the man. I can't say for certain what he is.
And Donovan nods. It's like, well, if he was here for Doru, then we can assume that he too is a vampire. And he just kind of lets out a sigh. It's like, but looks to Ismark. And it's like, well, that was been a bit of unexpected excitement, if you can call it that. But if or when Father Donovich recovers his senses, he now has this holy symbol to do the rites for your father.
And yeah, as you guys are talking, there is a bright golden glow that comes out of the room that Donovich is in as he's saying a prayer to this holy symbol. And you kind of watch as the fog around the church begins to lessen and eventually clear. And Donovan, which will eventually kind of, and without a word, will kind of come out of the little back room, place a hand on Ismark's shoulder, and then proceed to go to the casket you guys brought over. At which point, he will obviously begin to say a prayer over it, as well as casting some sort of spell upon it.
Yeah.
Um, hmm.
Donovan will kind of step aside so Arena can join Ismark and go uh, go watch the rites if that's what they're going to be doing. And then he'll just kind of post guard by the door.
And you kind of watch as this spell takes effect. Um, and the body kind of just begins to gently burn away along with the casket while he says this prayer. The start of this prayer starts exactly like the prayer you heard um, in the basement that Doru said, but will eventually go on to include: grant us strength to face the creeping gloom, to stand unbowed before the whisper of doom. Let your light burn within our weary hearts, a beacon of faith where darkness starts. Though Barovia lies beneath sorrow's veil, your rising sun tells a hopeful tale. No night is endless, no curse can stay, when the morning Lord finally brings forth the day. So hear our plea, O Lord of Dawn. Let your mercy shine where hope is drawn. Shield us from evil, guide us through strife, bless us with the courage, and guard our life. Amen. And the body kind of finishes its little, basically disintegrating, leaving the pile of ashes, which he goes to the altar to get a small urn for and begins to scoop them into said urn. Um, Irina kind of bursts into a bit of crying, and Ismark's there kind of comforting her while this is happening.
Is that normal?
I mean,
The
Tristan kind of shrugs. Periwimple's kind of watching from the doorway and will just give a nod. He says, come, or Donovich will eventually say it, come to the crypt. We must put him to rest.
just move to follow.
Yep, and actually everyone just kind of clump right here. I'm going to just warp you guys where I'm going to send you guys.
Okay.
Okay.
Rather
Sounds
than
good.
having you guys all walk around. So yeah, he will bring you guys around here to the large crypt here, which he will take the same ring of keys that he had previously used to open the trap door and will unlock this large, ornate kind of, what you assume is probably an iron door. Maybe steel, though. It doesn't really look corroded or rusted. In fact, it looks like it's still in reasonably good shape. And he'll open the door and walk inside. Um, and obviously, Irina and Ismark are kind of close as he goes in. And he sets it down in a little alcove amidst the other coffins and whatnot that are in here. Which, they have been burning the dead. You guys did hear that. Previously, they did bury people, but not so much anymore. And give me some blind perception checks.
Mm,
Dang, look at these rolls.
yeah, we're not gonna roll.
Damn.
Yeah, we're not gonna roll much. We might as well roll well.
Yeah. I think
Did
I
mine
just.
not go?
I don't see yours. I just see yours from 19 minutes ago.
There it
Oh,
is.
okay. So, as you guys are kind of watching this happen, Donovan, you and Kardama both notice there is a figure kind of standing down here watching through the gate.
Sometimes I feel like somebody's watching me.
tall man, pale, dark black hair,
Oh, I forgot.
dressed rather
Hmm.
nicely,
And he's got a name tag.
and he might have a name tag that he probably shouldn't, but that's okay.
I forgot this guy's name,
I mean, you
but
can.
Cardama noticed him and kind of
Oh,
like,
Periwinkle?
thank you, Periwinkle, and kind of just looks towards the man and questions, "Who is that?" Thank you.
He will kind of look over there and then just kind of shrugs. He says, I don't know. I've never seen him before. And
Donovan.
Tristan doesn't turn back to look at you or even say anything, but he just kind of points up at the sky and just kind of goes back to just watching what's going on up there.
Donovan kind of just he's gonna put his helmet back on, so like he kind of tilts his head slightly, kind of seems to put two and two together and kind of stiffens a little more, but outside of just giving, you know, because he's not paying them too much attention, his attention is more focused on them, I assume. If his eyes do turn towards them, he just gives a polite nod, because for all he knows that, or they know, he's just someone else who's here to watch the ceremony.
Yeah, and putting that together, you get graveyard potentially, holy ground or the like, which might make it surprising as this gentleman seems to kind of phase through the gate and kind of slowly, non-threateningly walks a bit closer. Um, looking inside at Donovich laying the urn down and saying the prayer, and he kind of offers his own little nod of like solace and respect towards the crypt. Donovich will eventually turn around and come back out of the crypt, and seems like he's getting ready to say something to Ismark and Irina when he catches sight of the figure. His eyes go wide and he basically just gets the hell out of there.
No warning or nothing, huh? Okay.
No,
I mean,
actually.
here, Donovan would draw their attention to him, but like, like any time that Donovan has sensed danger, like his hands always gone to his weapon, and while he's gone very stiff, they notice that like he's very much like he's always got this gave the sense of a guy who's ready for any fight, and like he's just not reaching for his weapon. Like either he doesn't think it's a threat or he does not think it's a fight that can be won. But either way, like he's kept his eyes on this guy, but is like making no hostile actions.
And Ismark will eventually kind of follow. After watching, him and Irina both watch, like, Donovich move way faster than a man of his age should be moving. And then we'll eventually kind of turn back towards the man. And Ismark says, "Oh, I I don't think we've met. Were you a friend of of my father's?" And the gentleman will kind of just offer like a nod. He says, "Oh, we met once or twice. Just a fellow noble paying respects to one that has fallen." Um, And Irene is kind of like watching him, but not trying to look like she's looking over there. Um, Whereas Ismark doesn't seem like he's kind of put anything um, together yet immediately. What do you guys want to
And
do?
Donovan,
Question.
Donovan. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying it's a good question. I'm not
Indeed.
sure if we're ready for this fight. And for the fight.
Oh, I don't think it's gonna be a
I
fight.
don't like a fight.
Yeah, Donovan. Donovan's kind of like Periwinkle and Ismark have, obviously haven't recognized who this is, but uh, Donovan will kind of, having heard what he heard, and is kind of keeping an eye on Arena's reaction. But otherwise, like, he is, like, they're obviously standing back as, sort of bodyguards and or fellow guests, and so he's just sort of watching everyone else's reactions um, to see what, if anything, is about to happen.
Yeah, and Tristan will kind of shuffle the deck of cards again, still kind of half grinning despite everything. Um, and he'll take a card um, from the top of the deck and kind of just hand it over his shoulder to you, Donovan.
Uh, Donovan will take it.
And it is a card from the high deck, the Dark Lord card specifically.
Donovan kind of just gives a small nod, and he's just kind of thinking to himself, he's like, that, like, just out of his interactions so far, that just this day would have been very interesting with the other two here. Because, like, you got three vampires in the short span of time for, the guy who's, professionally afraid of them. And if the other one had figured out who this was, I like, I was like, I it was there's a very high chance she would have like just walked right up to him.
Yeah, and he will actually, seeing the kind of shuffling of cards, he will actually walk over and will talk to Tristan and says, "Ah, I didn't know we had another seer in these lands. Are you one of Eva's, or were you brought in from?" And Tristan just kind of shakes his head. He says, "No, I'm not from here, but I was on my way to meet her." And he says, "Ah, wonderful. I was actually going to send a messenger, but I suppose you all will do well instead. Tell her I'll be coming along before the end of the week for a reading myself." And he will reach into his little I guess you kind of call it. It's kind of like a fancy like vest, robe, doublet type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And will pull out a bag. He says, "And here, as newcomers to my land, I think it only fair to, well, properly outfit you for the trek. I wouldn't want you to die before you could deliver my message." And he'll kind of just hand it to Tristan, who's just, trying not really to make eye contact, um, but will simply nod and then kind of turn back to look at you all. And provided you all don't mind accompanying me to deliver the message, of course.
Donovan shakes his head, and it's like, of course not. It sounds like we were headed that way, anyways. And he kind of pauses for a moment, um, but he kind of looks at the gentleman. It looks like he has a question, but then kind of his eyes shift to Periwinkle and Ismark, and he kind of just uh, decides to hold off for now.
Yeah, and Periwinkle caught glimpse of the card, and finally seems to put it together and has seemingly found something very interesting to look at over here. Trying to look anywhere but in that direction. And nothing interesting is happening here. It's just a tombstone. But to him, it is fascinating. His eyes are fixed. It commands his attention completely. As Ismark realizes who it is, though, he just kind of becomes um, very like stiff, um, and he will eventually, Strahd will eventually turn around and kind of put a hand on Ismark's shoulder and says, "Well, I trust the town will be in good hands if you're half as proficient at leading as your father was. Don't let me down." And he kind of pauses and takes one last glance back over his shoulder towards what you assume to be his Irina, because Ismark's kind of just like, he went stiff for a minute, and now he's kind of, shrunk down into himself a little bit. Um, Definitely not standing up as straight or anything else. And with that glance, he will head back. Eventually, kind of disappearing. So if you want to give me another perception check, you can.
Yeah.
Is this a blind one?
Yes.
Yeah. Most perceptions usually are. Oh wow. Yeah, no, none of you notice anything.
Damn.
Thank
I mean, can we hero point to see if we?
Yeah, if you want a hero point, you can.
I mean, it doesn't carry over, and I'm assuming we're ending soon.
That
so.
is true. Yeah, that is true.
I will use it as well.
All right. Yeah, these
Yeah, same.
these rolls are something right now. One of you even got a 2-digit number. Oh my, wow. Okay. That was some luck. Kardama's was on the 1 again. She rolled a nat 1 right before this, and then flipped over.
I got 2 nat ones.
No, it flipped over from the nat 1, but it almost was. The first one was a nat 1. The second one was on the 1, and then it did one more teeny roll. So Kardama and Dakota. And Dakota, you shoot, you have pretty good eyes. But you see the figure disappear into the tree line over there, and you can still kind of make out his rough shape, but you kind of watch as his shape distorts, kind of shrinking down into itself, and then a single bat comes flying out of the trees there, that you and Kardama both notice, that starts heading northwards towards that castle on the hill. And poor Donovan, who managed to roll poorly both times, notices absolutely nothing. That was you had an 11 and an 8.
Yeah. It was like he basically is kind of checking on everyone else, and also like he's just doesn't see too well in the dark as compared to perhaps others. So
Yeah.
he's just like no luck there. But he kind of uh, looks to himself and kind of realizes everyone kind of figured out who it was. I was like, given the nature of this gathering, I thought it was perhaps rude to ask, but I wanted to ask if the thunder was an after effect or an actual choice on his part.
And Tristan just kind of shrugs. He says, if he's able to hear what everyone everywhere here is saying, that's even more scary than assuming it's not just an automatic thing."
Mm. He kind of looks over at that. So when you say that they have complete control over their realm, then then that makes them. He kind of pauses for a moment. I struggle to say omnipotent, but yeah, as you said, they can hear anything anywhere.
If he's the one consciously doing it, then that would be the assumption I would make. I would rather think that it's simply a strange perk of this place. And maybe even, you know, lets him know if people are saying his name. Either way, I don't particularly care for it.
He nods. It's like, yeah, the um, a man is truly powerful if you can walk into a room and command it without even his name being uttered.
Odama gives a nod.
He kind of shakes his head after a moment, but it seems that we've gotten that the brief interruption has uh, has passed. So he kind of looks to the other two. It's like we shall allow them to do what they need to do, and then I suppose that we shall retire for the night.
Yeah, Ismark, seeing that Donovich kind of just bolted and left the keys and the door open, um, will close the door to the vault and reseal it up before grabbing the keys. And kind of just let out a sigh and says, alright, we should probably, well, return the keys to him, and then I'd feel much better back at the manor than out here.
As would I.
And
Same.
yeah, Donovich is kind of, this window here is completely broken and smashed, but you can see Donovich kind of peeking around. I'm kind of just watching everything with just a wide-eyed, horrified look on his face. And Ismark seems to be getting back a little bit of his, like he seems like a fairly competent, confident guy, and he's kind of bouncing back a bit, but Ismark will go kind of up to the broken window and just place the keys on the window seal, and Donovich will kind of grab them from inside, and then, you know, a few, maybe 10 seconds later, you hear him kind of praying at the altar again. And Periwimple will just be like, well, I think that's enough excitement for me. I'm going to pretend any of this never happened and return to the tavern.
Donovan nods.
We should probably
Good
find
choice.
a good place to spend the night as well.
So we were invited to the manor.
Yep.
Well,
I mean, or you could, you know, pick out an abandoned house, maybe.
that feels worse.
Yeah.
That's how it be. So yeah, you guys will head back to the manor. And when you get there, Ismark will lead you into the kitchen, and him and Irina will basically start to prepare a small meal. The kitchen isn't very well stocked at this point, but they do manage to kind of pull together to make, you know, a more meatier, hearty stew than you guys had at the other place. And Tristan will kind of follow you guys over there, and eventually this curiosity will get the best of him, and he will open up the bag that the gentleman who shall not be named handed over. And will pull out a bunch of small rune stones, of which there are 6. He says, that should be useful.
Yeah. Donovan. Oh, he's trained in crafting. I was like, that's what I was checking. Donovan kind of looks over and looks at the runes. Does he need to roll for it?
No, you would know what they are.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, he kind of nods. It's like these are. He kind of looks at Tristan and it's like, and then the others. And if anyone has kind of a non-understanding face, he'll explain. These are runes that you can apply to weapons to make them uh, strike harder, as it were. They are
well, in this
very
case, more
useful.
more accurately, but yeah,
More accurately, sorry.
yeah.
It was like, sorry, more accurately. And um, it's something I am passingly familiar with, so I can. He kind of does a kind of a quick count. It's like, oh, there's 6 here, so there's kind of does kind of thinks over. It's like, uh, and then kind of looks to Tristan. I was like, well, if you want the 6th, I suppose that you would make 6 in this regards, but because he's kind of thinking, it's like it doesn't think anyone has 2 weapons. Has any noticed anyone that has 2 weapons?
Nope, everyone just has one.
Okay, so yeah, so he'll kind of be like, you know, if you wish to have one as well, I can apply it to yours, but otherwise, if everyone does not mind leaving their weapons with me tonight, I can apply these runes.
And Tristan just kind of nods. He says, "Oh, I'm not one for weapons myself. I can." And he has a rather ornate golden bracelet. He says, "But it'll serve its purpose here. Trust me."
He nods. He's like, but yes, these are interestingly useful given who provided them to us.
Says, "Well, he did say he didn't want us to die before we delivered his message. Every little bit
That
helps,
is
I
true.
think."
Coda will hand over her pistol.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, it's just all you really need to do, and we'll do it real quick, is go to your inventory, and then you'll have your weapon. In this case, let me give Tristan some sort of actual weapon so I can kind of walk you through it.
so I would put it on my knife, not my bow.
Yeah, so basically, you'll see there is a spot where there's a little pencil in a little square. You're gonna click that to edit the item. It'll open up a thing. You want to go to the little details tab. From there, you want to scroll down. Well, you might not even have to scroll down depending on how big it opens, but there's a spot called Potency Rune under Precious Materials and Runes. You're going to click that little box and make it Weapon Potency +1. And then just hit close. It'll auto save from there.
Where? Because I don't see that.
Are you under details for your weapon?
Ah, yes, found it now.
Yep.
Okay.
Also, now it shows a +1 dueling pistol.
Yep.
Okay.
So yeah, you guys will eat a nice meal. Chat a bit. Ismark is very interested to kind of hear, where you guys are from, provided, he does have an idea that you guys aren't from here. Irina seems a little grumpy and kind of distracted. But, she does chime in on occasion. But eventually, you guys will... Sorry, I didn't want to cough in your ear. Hold on a sec. Alright, so yeah, you guys will settle in for the night. And they have a fairly large guest bedroom with a number of beds. In fact, they probably have 2 guest bedrooms. I'm probably sticking Donovan and Tristan in one, and Dakota and Cardama in the other. But go ahead and give me some more perceptions.
Okay.
Mm, I did not roll.
I did
There we go.
go. There it is.
All right, all of you guys actually rolled really well this time. Oh gosh, I think I was coughing and then I inhaled some saliva, so now I'm coughing even more.
Oh
Oh
god.
no,
So that's
not her
fun.
cat hair.
That one might cough on your own spit.
Oh gosh. All right, so as you guys are kind of unwinding in your room, you hear murmurs coming from the room that's basically between the two guest bedrooms that you guys are in, which you assume is kind of the master bedroom. Um, and it's a little hard to make out at first, especially because the house itself kind of lets out the occasional just groan and creak. But as you strain your ears, you hear two voices, which you immediately recognize as Irina and Ismark. Um, Irina's voice is, she's basically not making any real attempt to whisper, and it's kind of sharp with indignation. And she says, "You have no right, Ismark. You can't just decide to send me away like I'm some kind of inconvenience. I'm father's child as much as you are, and our people need me to rebuild. You need me here too." And there's a brief silence, and you can kind of tell that Ismark is, um, measuring his reply and kind of thinking through. Um, but it's easy to detect kind of the note of worry in his voice. And he says, "Irina, we've been over this. You know the devil has his sights set on you. And even if we don't believe about the legend about women with red hair, others in the village might. Barovia just isn't safe for you anymore. What if the townspeople rise up tomorrow and try to bring you out as some sort of offering?" And you hear kind of a snort of defiance. And Irina kind of chimes in again and she says, "I'm no coward, Ismark, and I will not abandon our friends and neighbors in their hour of need." And then another brief pause. Um, and Ismark kind of, and it's at this point, it's more of like a whisper, but you guys all rolled really well, so he says, "Gertruda left the village this morning, alone." And you hear kind of Irina, just like her breath kind of catch. And she says, "What? Why?" And then Ismark says, "Her mother thinks she went to the castle, probably to seek clemency for the village from the devil." And there's kind of another longer silence as you get the feeling that they're both kind of thinking. And then Ismark, after the silence, starts to say something, hesitates, and then eventually decides to say it anyway, and kind of fumbles his words a bit. He says, "Look, I'm not asking you to abandon them, but there are others who need your help too. Think about our neighbors who fled for Valaki. They need guidance, advocacy, and perhaps a leader to bring them back home one day." And you hear Irina kind of just let out like a long sigh, and she says, "I still don't like it." And he says, "It's your choice. I can't take that away from you. But after losing father, I can't bear the thought of losing you too." And then you get the feeling that they're both a little emotional at the moment. And Irina kind of chimes in again with her voice kind of cracking a little bit, much more fragile and quiet than it had been. And she says, "Fine, I will go, if only for you." And then it kind of goes silent in their room. Though eventually you hear the door open, and one of them obviously leaves the room. What do you do?
So,
Hmm.
were we in the room or we could just overhear it?
You could just overhear it. The walls in the manor aren't that thick.
Gotcha. Yeah, I would probably just mind my own business.
Yep.
Yeah.
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 It's,
Donovan has probably been working on just applying the runes.
Yeah.
Kind of half listening as he's doing this. Um, and then, just kind of partially because of what happened, and partially, um, you know, because of what they're about to do, he does do a short prayer to because he's not aware that it's not him, so he does a short prayer to Gorham, um, to guide them in the battle that is to come.
Yep. So yeah, as you guys kind of finish hearing that, Dakota, you see a sheet of parchment of some kind sitting on the kind of nightstand beside the bed you were about to lay down in.
I'll pick it up and take a look at it.
Yeah, so you take this page, and it appears to be an excerpt out of some sort of book. Um, and it's a long excerpt, so I'm actually going to post it in Discord rather than trying to read it.
okay.
But I'm going to throw it in the journals and notes. Okay, that's so long I can't even send it like that, so hold on.
God.
I think I can send it if I knock off this part here. Yep, it is long.
Mm,
Just kind of skimming over it, Dakota, you get the feeling that this is someone's writing about how to deal with vampires. Um, yeah. Looks like it comes from a larger volume, though, but you only have this one page.
Okay. I will tell Kardama about it.
And yeah, sure enough, it seems to be some sort of vampire guide, discussing, the resiliency of their bodies, potential weaknesses, and other things.
Kardama just takes a look and she says, should probably hold on to this. Matthias could probably tell us more if we find him. I'm not too familiar with vampires, so I should probably give this a read.
Yeah, same.
Alright. Yeah, that said, you guys will settle in for the night. It is not a restful night's sleep, especially because you're kind of afraid that at any moment Ismark or Irina might bust in and say that the dead are invading again, or that you might hear them outside. You've seen evidence of them clawing against the walls and other things, but the night will pass uneventfully. And we will pick up next week, the morning following.
That's good.
Yep.
Sounds good.
And see what horrible fate awaits you. Oh, I never showed you guys my village thing here. Here, we'll get to it real quick. Why isn't my rain working? Hold on. Time out.
Technical difficulties.
Technical difficulties. There it is. Well, yeah, we'll pick up here next week. Hopefully, we get Luke and Uni back. It's a good place to reintroduce them next week.
Yeah, that is a very nice village.
And I know it's been not a lot of fights, but a lot of RP stuff, but that changes pretty
That's okay.
quickly. So
I'm fine.
there's a lot of stuff that has to be done to set things up. And also, the one
Yeah,
encounter
no
I
map for
had
combat all the
planned,
time.
without Luthias and Uni, you guys would have got wrecked. So
Yeah, let's not do that.
Yeah.
let it never be said that I wasn't a kind and benevolent game master
You totally are.
that was having a
Oh, there.
coughing fit and had to take a cough drop.
I mean,
Dude,
it happens.
it's the worst
Choking on
because
your
it was
face.
just going to be like one or two coughs, right? And then I made the mistake of inhaling, and that's the little fleck of saliva. Suck that down in there, and then nope, I'm gonna cough now for like a minute straight.
Jeez.
It's weird. I don't ever remember that happening when I was younger. I feel like that's an adult problem.
It's
That's
an
definitely an adult problem.
right.
Yeah, usually when you're in a group of people and can't stop.
Dude, that's the worst though. Hold on, guys. Are you okay? No, I inhaled saliva. I'm okay.
Fine, I was just coughing up a lung. It's fine.
Right. They're like, "Are you sure you're not
I'm just
sick? I don't want to stand near you." We just
nope. I'm just old.
right. Fortunately, I'm no longer in my 25 and under phase, so sometimes my body just does things unpredictably. How'd you hurt yourself? I exist. That's what me and Lauren jokingly say to each other. Dang, my back hurt this morning. What'd you do? I existed.
Pretty much.
I don't know what else to tell
Yeah,
you. That was
open the fridge wrong.
right. I existed. All right. Well, yeah. Thank you, people who are watching. Thank you, you guys, for playing. It's
Do
gonna
we
be
need
an
to find
ad
someone to raid
break
out
in
Of
to?
course.
4 minutes. So yeah, we'll send this somewhere. Let me see what we got here. Where's my raid button? I swear I lose that button every time. It doesn't move, but I still lose it every time.
Let's see. We got Razzlemeyer again.
Yeah, I think that's probably where we'll send it because I think the other stream looks like it's in Portuguese. Or as they say in GTA RP, pork and cheese. But that's a completely different story. So yeah, we'll send it over to Raz like we usually do. Looks like they've been live for about 2 hours. I think that's where we usually are. I'm gonna send a Velociraptor face loving a Dorito chip when we go in. Until I get some cool custom emotes that I don't even know about.
Oh, you gotta either buy them or
Oh,
commission
I
them.
know. I've been talking with some people to do some stuff, but it does all cost money.
Oh yeah.
I gotta wait until I have money to throw at it. Especially because
Fair
all
enough.
the other stuff costs money too. Foundry, Forge. All right, boys, we're
Yeah.
going in. You know what to do.
All right.
Okay. All right.
Make me proud. Or don't. I don't know.
So it was Raptor. Where did the Raptor go?
Yeah.
Raided by Malik. Thanks. Raid.
What's the name of that emote?
Got raided by
Where's my Dorito chip? There he is.
Oh, okay. So Pog. Dorito.
Alright. Yeah, going well.
It's cold.
Uh, but yeah, it's nice playing tonight. Oh,
Yep.
And you all have a good rest of your evening and
Alright, good night.
night.
Yep, have
Yep,
a
good
good
night.
night, guys.
It's going well. It's just peachy.